Hello everyone and welcome back here to Eat Sleep Brief. So in this week's episode, what I want to be showing you guys is how easy it is to tune a calcium reactor. So I'm not going to be going into too much detail on what exactly the equipment is here as far as the calcium reactor is concerned. If you guys are wondering about that, there will be videos on that in the description, or just simply go back a few videos. You'll be able to check out where I make actually quite a few videos on a calcium reactor, the equipment, and kind of how to set one up. So in this week, we're not going to be talking about that. All we're going to be talking about is how to tune it to obviously be dosing your tank. So there's going to be a few things we're going to be looking at to tune it. And there's really two main factors we're going to be using to tune this calcium reactor. So starting off, we're going to have this dial here, which I'm going to explain exactly what it does. And then we're going to have this little knob here. So if you guys haven't checked out the previous videos, I highly recommend you to check it out, because that's going to kind of explain to you exactly what these do, because again, I don't want to go in crazy detail about it. So starting off here, so this is a Kimura continuous dosing pump. What this does, it's constantly, as you can see, it never stops. It runs 24/7, and it's always pulling in water from the top of the display tank, running it through the calcium. It enters through here, this line right here towards the back. I kind of know it's hard to see, my hands in the way. It comes in through this line, is fed through the whole tank. Then it comes out, goes into there, and then from the secondary chamber it runs back into the display tank. So water is always being pulled through rather than pushed through the calcium reactor. The two ways to control your calcium reactor is one being the very obvious, simply control the flow. Right now it's dosing I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's dosing 4 milliliters a minute. So obviously very simple. If I wanted it to dose more, I would increase it from 4 to either 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever value I would need. You can see it there, starts turning a lot quicker. This thing will really turn up. I think it does 100 and something, but anyways, let me turn that back down to where I had it at 4. That's another great thing about this pump. A lot of people will try to do it with like a needle valve. This thing, you can literally see how much milliliters you were dosing. Just go back to that and you're good to go. No guesswork with needle valves and so on. So one of the very obvious ways is tuning it by just increasing the flow. That's great and all, but you have to understand, as you increase the flow, the pH in here is going to drop. Why? Because water is flowing through it a lot quicker. You just heard the solenoid go off, but anyways, water is flowing through it a lot quicker, which means you're going to need more CO2 to maintain the same pH. I don't know if you guys can see it there. It's at 6.6. It's kind of hard to see, but just trust me, it's at 6.6. So as you're increasing the flow here, you're gonna possibly need to increase the CO2 going into this chamber. Why? Because you're having more water flow through it quicker, thus consuming more of the CO2. So in essence, as you dose this quicker without making an adjustment here, you're making the concentration of calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium less potent, because again, it's being diluted through more water. A calcium reactor generally has kind of two ways to control it. One would be the obvious here, but another one, I can leave this at 4 milliliters without even touching this, and I can drop the pH below 6.6, like 6.4, 6.5. You don't want to drop it too low, because then you'll dissolve all the media. So I can essentially open this bad boy wide up, drop the pH in here without even making an adjustment here. It's going to increase the alkalinity. So you may be saying, how the hell is that happening? Why? Because as I increase the CO2 coming into this chamber, I'm making it more potent. So for that 4 milliliters a minute that it's currently dosing, it's going to be dosing a more potent mixture of the not mixture, but element of the calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium. So I hope I didn't lose you guys there. I hope you guys are kind of still following me. I know it may be a little bit difficult to understand, but generally speaking, as long as you have a pH controller like you have here, you really don't need to worry about this bad boy controlling this valve here, because this pH controller is going to make sure it always maintains that pH no matter what level this is at. Obviously, if you start noticing your pH dropping here when this is running quicker, you're going to have to open this valve so more CO2 goes in the tank. I also can control this one. This is just a fine tune. I can control this one as well. You never touch this back one. That one's always fully open. But guys, in a nutshell, it's really that simple to control it. You know, if I'm not making a huge change on the milliliter, maybe jump in, you know, 10 milliliters, generally I won't need to mess with this. You know, if you're doing a lot more than that, you may need to make, you know, an extra bubble per second, but that's pretty much it. Let me trigger this on so you guys can see it in action. I'm gonna it's at 6.7 pH, so I'm gonna drop the pH, and you just heard it kick on. So this is how it works with adjusting it. So this is a fine-tuned needle. So here you can adjust it. You can see one bubble every, you know what, 2-3 seconds, and you can increase that, you know, quicker, 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 quicker. So generally mine will work on one bubble every like 1.5 seconds because it's such a small tank, and I'm barely, that's a little bit too, that should be good. But you can also see the bubbles coming right, you see them getting fed through there? Let me put it back to where, look, it already dropped 6.6. I'm telling you, this thing doesn't mess around. So right there, I just shut it off, and you heard the solenoid shut off. Another rule of thumb I want to give you guys, generally speaking, you want to tune this where it's not turning on and off as much. You want to generally tune it where it shuts off maybe, I don't know, for example, 2-3 times a day. If you get it really, really well, you'll have it shut off 0 times a day. That's when you know you've tuned it, because then you're not having the solenoid have to work. The regulator is doing everything, and the pH controller is just making sure that everything's getting taken care of. But guys, it's literally that simple. So let's say I did a water test today, right? Another thing I want to throw out, when you have a calcium reactor, generally speaking, you only test alkalinity, because calcium and magnesium are being dosed in the same parts, so you don't need to be testing for them as often. I'm not saying never test for them, but generally speaking, you only have to test alkalinity when you're using a calcium reactor. So let's say, for instance, I tested right now, my alk is at 8.1, you know, 8.1, 8.2, and I want to kick it up to about 8.4, 8.5. It's really this simple, guys. I'm not even joking around. So if I want to increase my alkalinity from 4 to 5 milliliters a minute, I'm not joking, that's it. That's it. If I want to increase it more, go up to 6, 7, and so on. I'm gonna put it back to where it was. But the beauty about this, guys, by me making that one adjustment here, I'm controlling calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium. Come on, focus. Focus. There we go. Sorry, by me making that one adjustment here, I'm controlling calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium, all with a tiny little flick of the dial. It's really that simple. You know, generally speaking, without this, you need dosers, which that's a doser. You would need 3 channels, and every time you'd make an adjustment on the alkalinity, you would come and have to check on the magnesium and calcium, because generally speaking, it's not going in the same proportion. That's the beauty of a calcium reactor. It's really that simple. So generally speaking, you never need to adjust this unless you're making, you know, drastic changes on this bad boy. But it's really just moving the dial up. Let's say if I tested it one day and my alk is at 9.0, I don't run it that high, so all I would need to do is move the dial a few milliliters down, and we're good to go. So guys, I hope I didn't lose you guys in this in this video. Hopefully you guys learned something and really saw how easy and simple a calcium reactor is to adjust. It's literally moving a dial. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down in the comment box below. I'm gonna leave you guys here. As always, thanks for watching. Happy reefing.